This is the Horse Radio Network.
Welcome to Adulting with Horses, the podcast for weird horse girls and the best place to be if you can't be at the barn. Put down the muck rake, turn up the volume, and let's have some fun. So let's get turned up. All right. So I'm actually super excited about this topic, Natalie, about the non-ridden horse. I know we both come from riding backgrounds, but I found as I get older that I am less and less likely to spend my time at the barn actually getting on and riding. And not all barn owners or trainers really enjoy that. I find that a lot of times if I have the time, I don't want to rush to get in a ride, and I don't want to rush through the grooming. I don't want to rush through the hosing down. And so instead I go and do other things. And sometimes people are like, oh, when was the last time you rode? Or, hey, so-and-so can use some exercise lately. And I get kind of bothered thinking that they're talking about me behind my back. Because they probably are. But at the end of the day, I think traveling around, working with so many horses that I do and going to all these places, we're actually, I won't speak for you, but I'm actually in the above average grade here. Like I'm in the majority of adult riders. A lot of us, unless we're competing, we actually don't ride as often as people think.
Oh, for sure. You know, I think that a lot of people take, how we talk a lot about the sort of American obsession with work ethic.
Yeah.
We're applying that to our horses. And that is what we call bad anthropomorphism, because our horses don't have a human, financially driven, ego-driven work ethic. They want to eat grass.
Especially my pony.
Yeah. They want to engage in their own social structures. They want to deal with each other, and we don't factor into every aspect of their lives.
Now that hurts my ego because I want to be the center of my horse's universe.
You're the center of my universe.
Well, at least I have that. It's a poor substitute, Natalie. But
my podcasting universe.
But I want to be, well, and isn't that what it is too? A lot of times we want our horses to need us.
Probably. That's probably a big piece of it. I mean, I certainly enjoy going out with a carrot and hollering bed. And when he whinnies and canters to me, that hits all my little black stallion feels. All my little 5-year-old self is just squealing with joy. But his real priority isn't me. It's out in the field with his little buddy Manny. They have their own thing going on. And some days we're in the same obvious atmosphere. We're together on this little property, but I might interact with the horses 10 minutes out of 24 hours. And you know what? They're fine with that. They've got their own stuff going on. I got my work going on. We're two different species. We have different priorities.
That might be true. I see, especially traveling through different barns for the massage therapy, I get to see everything from backyard barns to small facilities to big racing facilities. And one thing I notice is that it all depends on the trainer, right? So if the trainer thinks days off for your horse are important, then that is prioritized. But it's shocking to see how many big performance, and again, so actually I should take away that. Even the athletes get days off. And there's mid to high level, just competition barns I see that ride their horses 6 days a week and wonder why they have kissing spine or behavioral issues. And I don't know, I'm of the opinion, and you tell me what you think, because I'm of the opinion that my horses should have regular time off like me for mental and physical wellness. And my horse doesn't need to work. I can get on Delight or Ferrous months off not riding, and it is not a big deal. There's no drama, no explosive behavior. It's actually good for us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went for a couple of years riding at most 3 days a week. And then my job was taking me out of town. So I'd be gone for 2 weeks, I'd be gone for a month. And every time I gave Ben, a week or more off, he was always so much better the next time I rode him. And that's still true. I rode a couple days last week and then I took off like 5 days and then I rode him 2 days ago. And he was better after the 5 days off than he was on like the third day of a 3 day streak. You know what I'm saying? Like that horse has always thrived on long breaks. And I'm not a pusher. I don't ask for a ton of work, especially right now. He's really out of shape. So it's a lot of walking and changes of direction, like big curves, that kind of thing. But even so, even 15 minutes, 3 days in a row, I think he was like, okay, how about some me time? How about some you time? We've been together a lot recently.
I love you, but I love you more from the paddock.
Exactly. And so when he came back on it, I was able to trot him and he was really well behaved and he was stretching his back and he said, okay, I enjoyed this. Now you go do your thing and I'm going to go do mine. And he doesn't, I guess the thing is that um, most of our horses are not upper level horses.
Correct.
They don't need upper level conditioning, which, drilling and constant fitness work. Now, we do see a lot of show horses who aren't fit enough. I know you see that.
Yeah.
But for those of us who ride a few days a week, maybe show occasionally, our horses are fine. All they need is mental stimulation, and they don't have to get that from riding. They can get
Correct.
that from environment, from each other, or from games,
Well, you know me, I love to play games. And I don't mean that in the flirtatious sense, but yeah, that too. Anywho, no, I think in my opinion for my horses, and I won't speak for everyone's, I, obviously I want some level of muscular physical fitness because they're both neurological. So when they have that physical fitness, they actually are much happier, they feel better, their immune system is better. But in my opinion, as a human and a horse lover, I actually find that when I mentally stimulate them, it's just a couple of minutes as opposed to maybe 30 minutes of physical stimulation that has the same effect, that it gets them where they need to be, like their focus
Mm-hmm.
and their willingness. And I think it's so much more easier to implement actually.
Yeah, and that makes sense because how many times when we're riding do we take a few minutes to work on ourselves or just to say I'm going to trot up the long side of the arena and not really do anything? We're not doing anything. And so the horse is just chugging along. He's gone into maintenance mode, right? He's like, I'm trotting up the long side of the arena. I've done this 100 times. So you're not how many minutes of your ride maybe are you mentally stimulating your horse, and how many are you just saying, go out and get your circles in? You know what I mean?
Oh my God, it's so boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm bored with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like,
right?
I am bored right now. That means, like, if I'm checking my watch, what does Ben feel like?
Right. Oh, and then, that's also an opportunity for your horse to check if you're paying attention too, because you're both bored and it just isn't worth it. And so, I don't know. I'm a big fan of, at this point with my busy work life schedule, I'm lucky if I get on the back of a horse twice a week. Like that's a big deal for
Yeah,
me.
sure.
And I try, because Delight had so much time off with rehab and me going through that mental stimulation and teaching him to be a horse again, I find that I ride him less frequently because I want to take the slow approach and make him enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And because he gets bored very easily and he shuts down. So both my horses, rather than being explosive, shut down. And so I've had to bring them out of that using the mental exercise. And I find that for my anxiety, the mental exercises actually help focus me too.
Oh, sure. What kind of things do you do? Because I could probably use a little mental stimulation around here. Writing fog acres, as I'm calling my farm right now.
Well, I'm all about the increments. So I might set a timer for myself and say, okay, like if for example, if I'm in the paddock with them, a lot of times I don't set a timer, I don't do anything like that, and I'll just actually be part of the herd. I'll just sit there and I'll meditate in the paddock with my horses. And I find it's really interesting because they tend to end up right next to me by the time I'm done and open my eyes. And I don't recommend closing your eyes if you have, feisty horses, but generally they calm right down anyway if you're going to be meditating. So I like to do that with them when I have maybe 20 minutes and I don't have time to groom them both because I feel guilty that I'm only going to do one. So I just go out and do nothing. And it's actually really quite wonderful. I highly recommend it.
That
But the
sounds
other
really
thing,
good.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that great?
It does, because a lot of times, and I want to hear your other thing too, but a lot of times my time outside is spent doing some sort of pasture work because I like to putter. And so I go out and, I'll get the rake and I'll spread manure and things like that. But I should just sit down and I don't know if my brain is capable of meditation, but
It is, because if mine is, then yours definitely is. I'm like that meme with like that.
I'm afraid that if I sit down for 20 minutes and try to meditate, I will write down 6 story ideas when I open my eyes. That is my terror.
I used to have that when I started meditating, and I would find that as long as I kind of viewed it as an ocean wave, right? I was on a surfboard just sitting, and all of my thoughts were the waves. And so I can watch the wave go by, but I don't have to ride the wave.
No, I have to
Right?
ride the wave, Heather. The wave is leaving.
You get better.
What if that's the best wave?
The best
What if there's
wave
a turtle
ever.
in that wave? I have to see the
Then
turtle.
you make a mental note to come back and visit that turtle later.
Oh man, I'm gonna need some guidance on this. Like
we might
maybe
have
hypnosis.
to do, yeah, right. Well, we might have to start with like 30 seconds and work your way up.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say the same thing. So that actually leads me, because for the horses, I use a lot of positive reinforcement. And so one of the mental tasks I'll do is I'll keep the positive reinforcement, the treat training, to 5 minutes or less. Like I'll focus on, okay, today I'm going to get this horse to touch this target, whatever that is, my hand, a physical target, a cone, and I give myself 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes, as he's trying to figure it out and you're trying not to jump to the answer for him, right? Because he needs to figure it out,
Right.
is so mentally stimulating for you because you have to have patience, and mentally stimulating for them because they're working on a puzzle, trying to figure out what you're asking in a language they don't know.
Okay. I think I see some afternoon activities coming up.
Yeah, and it only takes 5 minutes for your little brain, so you have all of your book ideas that can still come through the rest of the time.
I don't want them. I don't want the book ideas.
In another year, you're going to have like 20 more titles.
That's the fear. I'm very tired. No, I love this. One of the things that I try to do is just give them space to think out in their field. So I leave obstacles out in the field. There are logs. There's foraging. It's not all just grass. And I don't mow. So it gives them an opportunity to go out and like nuzzle through different kinds of branches and bushes and Lord knows what. And I had the property walked with an extension agent, so I knew what was poisonous and what to get out. But in terms of ground cover and shrubbery and stuff like that, they get to go out and choose what they want to eat. And I think that it gives them more of an opportunity when their field isn't like just a square of grass or a square of dirt, if that's what you have. But when you have natural obstacles and changes in elevation and changes in forage, if that's a possibility for you, then your horse is living a natural lifestyle that requires them to think. And you can be in the house or at work or at the beach, and your horse is doing all of that thinking that you think they need under saddle. They're doing it for themselves.
Yeah, and that type of natural setup, we call that from when I worked at the zoo is behavioral enrichment.
Right.
And we do it with our horses, we do it with our dogs, but that's a natural way to keep them moving. So they're physically moving and getting blood flow through their hooves and
Mhm.
building muscle on that uneven ground. I mean, that's one of the things I say when I'm rehabbing a horse is you need to start walking on gravel, on dirt, on sand, on grass, and start coming up over tree roots. Like all of that is such wonderful for their tendons and ligaments.
Right.
But mentally, my God, how boring is it? Because if let's think about it, right? I'm going to make the really unpopular topic here, and I'm going to say that equestrian facilities with the simple square paddocks are very similar to a zoo cage with nothing in it.
You know, because when you said enrichment, I was thinking about where I first learned that term, which was at a backstage tour of Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Right.
And as animal lovers, we tend to love going to these supernatural zoo habitats and saying, look, the animals, it's just like they're living in their natural environment. And then we go home to our barn where our horse is in a box, and then we put it out in a square. What are we doing?
And it's the same every day.
Yeah, like what is the natural habitat for the horse? Well, are you recreating that? Because you can't domesticate habitat out of an animal unless you're a dog. They've been so domesticated that a bed is their natural habitat. But there's really no other animal like that, you know?
And look how much they put up with from us. Most horses don't ever complain.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think, how would you feel if you were, okay, I'm going to use my husband as an example. If I end up divorced, this is the reason why.
Okay.
For 2 years during COVID, he worked from home in his basement office with no windows and the same four walls, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was going insane. The only time he would leave was to maybe ride his bike or go cook something in the kitchen. And he was going physically and mentally insane. Like his body was atrophying and gaining weight. He was losing all of his muscle tone. He was mentally ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, just constantly looking for fights or things to pick about because he was so bored.
This honestly, the same thing happened to me when I got my first like social media specialist job. And I thought I had ascended because I was no longer mucking stalls. I was no longer standing behind a resort front desk. I had a desk and an office, and the office had no windows. And
Ugh.
I was losing it. And because this is the age of social media, I lost it in real time on Twitter. And
oh no, did you have a nervous breakdown?
I had a very lengthy one.
Oh my God.
It was really funny. No, it was just like I was very open with how I was feeling like on Twitter all the time. Like, it is so dark in this office. I am losing my mind. And
we're watching your downward spiral.
Yeah, everybody sees it. I'm not hiding it. And so I had to get another job like desperately because I couldn't work there anymore. I just couldn't be inside like that anymore. So yeah, natural environment is important because I was super mentally stimulated by the job. I was, working in social media, especially when you're the first one to create a position in a company, is a round the clock disaster because nobody knows what you're doing or why you want a budget or what you need it for. And so it was great for my brain in that respect, but I didn't have anything natural going on at all. I was in a completely unnatural environment, and it showed.
Yeah, and I think the reason that I love my job as a massage therapist so much, and there's so many reasons, but one of them is that I don't know, every day is going to be different. Every day I'm at different barns.
Mm-hmm.
I have regular clients. I don't see anybody more than once a week, right? So every week I get to go and do something new and a new place. I get to drive to with the sun out and the windows down and the music blasting. And I get to be kind of free and stimulated in multiple ways. And I think that if you get on a horse and you ride them 6 days a week, doing your cute little serpentines and your circles and your transitions. It is what it is. But someone's going to go crazy and it might be your horse. And I see this sometimes where they'll be like, oh, I think my horse is in pain. And I look and yeah, there's definitely something going on. But mentally, the horse is so tight in the head and the neck because they're just pent up or shut down and they can only hold that so long.
Right.
That's how I got Delight. He went to a place where he was originally being ridden maybe 3 days a week for an hour or so, to going to a place where, as an amateur horse, he was being ridden 5 minimum days a week for an hour and a half over pretty intense training. They put 100 pounds of muscle on him in 2 months.
Oof.
And he went crazy and he started charging people and rearing and bucking them off and then they were like giving him away.
Right.
So they created this problem for a horse that needed, he went from living outside to living in a stall.
Yeah, it's just these are unnatural expectations. And it's okay to want to compete and perform, but my God, we have to have some sort of framework per horse where you say, this is a horse, this is a species that is accustomed to this kind of lifestyle and treatment, and I have to respect that and find ways to work with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we forget that the reason we love them is because they aren't machines.
Right.
So why do we, and listen, I don't blame someone, right? I have to do a boarding facility right now because I travel so much. I'm with my kids so much. I don't have property in New Jersey to put a horse on or the time to take care of it. That is my goal. That is what I'm working towards. But I know, so I choose the best possible fit for my horse's brains and for their exercise level. Sure, there's things I'd like to tweak about it, but I don't own the facility, right? So you get as close as you can until you have your own place. And that is like what you're doing. You're creating kind of what you wanted your horses to have.
Right. And everybody is going to have, I mean, that's part of what this is all about, right? Is balancing our lives versus what we'd like to do with our horses. And so if you are choosing a boarding facility, that isn't perfect for what you were hoping for, that's where those games and ground stuff comes into play. When you just, are out there saying, okay, here's how we're going to stimulate your brain today so that you feel, like you're moving. I don't know what I'm trying to say right now, but you know what the point is, right? Like that's where the games come into play. That's where looking into target training and things like that come into play. Is okay, you can't be out on the prairie today. I'm sorry. But you can't climb over, the mountain and gaze down at your kingdom before descending to the springs. But we can play and you can have some fun. Right?
That's what it is. Yeah. And I think let's do this. Let's list some of the things that people can do with their horses that don't involve riding that is fun for both human and horse.
That is fun for both human and horse.
It maybe, or it could be one or the other. Like you were talking about your natural foraging solutions, right?
Right. So offering different kinds of grazing and not providing just a monoculture of grass is a really cool way to offer your horse like great stimulation because they can choose what they want to eat. And I love watching, I have random stuff. I have like native persimmons that keep popping up, this plant with really long leaves, and they don't eat those. But I love watching them run their noses over it as they're grazing and going, what is this? No, I don't eat this. And moving on. It's so funny.
Make good choices.
Yeah. And the beautyberry, they don't eat the beautyberry, but they run their nose over it and go, do I eat this? No, I don't eat this. And they move on.
Yeah, they have a wonderful way of being able to know in general, because not all horses are smart, but what is good for them and what is not.
Oh, and even the dumb ones. I mean, with all due respect to Manny didn't graze. He wasn't turned out for most of his life. And he prefers to eat this weed it's called Spanish needles, and it's a fully edible weed. I could go out, pluck the leaves off and eat them. I can eat the flowers. He loves it more than grass.
Oh,
He
wow.
will break into, I have a couple sections that are sort of like fenced off with just one strand of non-electrified wire, just to keep Ben out. Manny will go under them to get to the Spanish needles and ignore grass. He's just decided. I think they're kind of sweet because you can make green salads with them. So it must be sweeter than grass. I haven't eaten it yet. I can't eat it because Manny's eating all of it. And he just devours these things.
It's all for me, Mom.
He's so funny. He's like, Spanish needle, yum, yum, yum. And the problem is they flower and they're incredibly important for pollinators. And he ate I had probably an acre of flowers. So he ate all of them.
Oh my God. You're going to have a fat little mini on your hands.
He needs to gain weight. It's okay.
Okay.
It's so funny.
No, but that's like a game for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's instinct. They don't have to be taught it.
Right.
But one of my favorite things, we were talking about games, I absolutely love playing games with my horses. And sometimes you can learn some games in natural horsemanship and stuff. I think you kind of have to read your horse, because I can't do it with Delight as well off lead, because he does have kind of dominant, and he plays a little rough. But Ferrous, we play chase and follow, and
Oh my
so
God.
it's so cute. I have to get it on video. So we do a lot of Liberty stuff, and if I run, he trots. If I jump over the little jump, he has to jump over the little jump, and we play. And so I run, and we kind of go as a herd, and it's really cute. I can't run for anything. It's very embarrassing, but I'll still post the video. But if I stop, he stops. And if I turn, he turns. And so we play this mirroring game where we're reading each other's body language and playing with each other. And it is so cute. And he loves it. He's so excited.
That's incredible. I have to try that.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, I used to do it with babies, but eventually they'll pummel you. So that's the problem.
Yeah, because they don't really, here's my butt.
Yeah, but, eventually they'll just kick out. Like, yay, I'm having so much fun chasing you. Let's destroy each other. It's like Fight Club. You're like, no, I'm not in Fight Club.
You're like, you're cute, but your hooves are sharp.
Exactly. So
well, that's why I don't do it with Delight, because Delight could literally crack my skull open without even trying. Well, and he plays, and he play bites. So where like Ferrous will kick out when he gets excited, but he always makes sure to kick out away from me. And the way we play is he's got to be to the side or behind me with personal space. So we've actually learned over time what is allowed, what is not allowed. So we've been doing this for quite a few years. But you could start off with a lead rope, or just treats, something that is really, something that gives you a little bit of edge.
Yeah.
So Ferrous is super safe. So I went straight to treats in an enclosed space. And when I'd start walking and he'd come with me, and I'd stop and he would stop, I would give him like a clock and a treat.
Okay, I just bought a big bag of the little alfalfa treats from like Tractor Supply.
Awesome.
So that I can do more like positive training.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out and try this. I'm going to see what I can get on video, and I'm going to put it on our Instagram.
Awesome.
On the Adulting with Horses podcast Instagram. I'll throw some stuff in the stories and highlight it. And then you could probably do some good stuff, and we can both of them up like Natalie versus Heather. Like, I'm on the ground under a log while Ben is pawing at me. Someone save me, call 911. And then there could be you like out dancing with your horses.
Oh no. So I have something to tell you that I don't know. So Ferrous and I have been doing this a couple of years, right? And we're constantly building on our skills. Delight is stubborn. So I've actually used a lot of positive reinforcement for when I was gaining his trust. And it's really quite a different, amazing story. But so recently I started free lunging the two of them in their paddocks at Liberty. And I will point and ask them to go. And they have to walk, trot, or canter in a circle around me. And it's really cool because I feel like a famous horsemanship trainer. But what happens is Ferrous is smaller. He takes the inside always. Delight takes the outside, and they go in tandem and they'll sync up their legs and everything. It's gorgeous.
Oh my God.
So here's where things go very, very wrong for me. I decide in our recent photo shoot for the Timid Rider, like social media and the website and everything, I'm like, I'm going to show off my horses and how cute they are in photos. And we go out there, and Ferrous is feeling super naughty and decides to, while he's doing this, double barrel kick Delight behind the shoulder.
Oh.
So next thing we know, Delight's dead stopped, muscles quivering, shaking. He's got a hoof print on him. He's looking so sad. And, this is the horse that, by the way, used to charge people, and he looks pathetic. And the pony, who was the little championship hunter, is the devil. Okay. And all of this is on photo. So I cannot wait to see what these pictures come out like, because I thought it was like, oh, this is so great. Let's just show them off and like how awesome our relationship is. And then that happens. So
reality strikes.
Yes, no one's ever perfect. It's always a work in progress. So I have to be careful now doing that going forward and kind of reading the room a little better.
Yeah, horses will shame you.
Yeah, I think he did it because he was so excited and he loves to be on camera that I think he was just playing, and Delight was right on him and he caught him.
Right.
Luckily, everything's fine. They're still best friends, and Delight wasn't seriously injured, but I was so embarrassed.
So we should definitely, make sure everyone understands that when you play with your horses, you really up the ante for being embarrassed. And that's definitely going to be true if you're at a boarding stable where everybody is riding in circles and you are in the field with a flag and a bag of treats. You are going to have to go ahead and call that your freak flag and wave it high.
Just let it fly. But don't scare the other horses with the flag.
Yeah, also do not scare the other horses. And their horses are going to be jealous. So,
it is actually to the point, Natalie, but like Delight has been getting jealous because Ferrous is my primary riding horse. And now we've been spending all this time together. If he sees me riding Ferrous, he actually will run the fence and like try to come play with us.
Oh my gosh.
He has FOMO.
Well, I mean, that's pretty special right there.
I know.
You're inspiring jealousy in a working horse.
Well, let's be honest. My horses don't work very hard. My trainer would roll over and just sigh and groan and moan. She's been after me to take lessons, of which I need to. I think everyone should take lessons if they can. But because for me, I don't push myself, but I haven't been able to commit the time to that, because if I have the time, I want to go play with my horses. We have so much fun.
I think prioritizing play is a good idea. If you are taking lessons, you're working on your goals. You might want to feel like showing. If you're anything like me, you start ramping up the competitive feeling, and you don't have time to do it all. So why bring that on yourself? Like if you only have a couple days a week to play with your horses, you're not going to have time to show. You're not going to be able to commit like, I'm grinding away at my goals. So just play, leave the goals for all your hard adult stuff that you have to do. And the other stuff you'll get to it when you get to it.
Yeah, take some pressure off. And you can take 5 minutes to play. You don't have to play for very long. And it matters, I think, to both of you, because I really have noticed an increased connection between me and Ferrous and Delight. And that was so grammatically incorrect, but whatever. And I find that I trust my horses more as a timid rider. I actually trust that I can read them and that they'll tell me things now. Where before we started playing those games, when we were just riding, there was kind of no connection.
Yeah, and I think that's really true of geldings in particular, right? Because geldings can be really hard to read. And because they're not, mares wear it all on their sleeve. And I mostly deal with mares for some reason I've mostly had late cut stallions or like late geldings for a really long time. Like even Ben is a late gelding. So he's very much like a stallion. And so I get really used to my horse being like, hey, I have an opinion and I need you to know about it right now. Or, oh my God, I have an owie. They're super not stoic.
Why weren't you paying attention?
Yeah, basically. But geldings can be a lot tougher to crack in terms of communication.
Yeah, sometimes too stoic. And I think to tell some of the listeners this, there's a difference between stoic and shut down.
Right.
And so when you play these games and you spend this time, sometimes you actually see them come out and show more personality and than they did before. And then you realize maybe it wasn't stoic so much as the other.
Yeah. I really felt like that when I was in the mounted unit in New York. We had 2 Percheron geldings, and they really, for the longest time, I thought these horses had no personality. I was like, what is wrong with these horses? But they were really looking for stimulation. And when we did start playing games with them, like in the shed row, or we went and turned them out on the bridle path, you could see it. They were just looking for a change. And so, we changed up their rides, changed up their patrol routes, and did more stuff with them. And they were just more engaged with us, even in the barn. There was a difference.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story is if we're going to anthropomorphize, which a lot of horse people can't help but do, maybe treat your horse like you'd want to be treated, in the sense that you would not want the same thing every day. You would want a challenge. You would want a change of scenery, a change of pace. So think about offering the same thing for your horses and not focusing so much on just the riding.
Yeah. Good points.
I have them sometimes.
I think you're very wise. You're wise.
I feel wise today. I feel very opinionated and passionate about this subject. Are you
wearing your signature pink today?
Maybe. I'm wearing ripped leggings, Converse, and a pink skull t-shirt.
That's pretty cool. I'm also wearing ripped leggings.
Ooh.
And yeah, I know. I'm wearing ripped leggings. I'm wearing a pink shirt. And the other day when I rode, I thought you would have been so proud of me. I wore pink leggings to ride in. I did not change into breeches.
Good for you.
And I wore my unicorn socks that we bought at Equine Fair last year.
Oh.
Yep.
You miss me.
I do. I'm trying to be you here in Florida.
You could be the southern me. I'll be the northern Natalie. No, I'm kind of emo today. I'm emo Heather today, but I would totally ride in this, for the record. I would even ride in the Converse if I was in my Western saddle and just tooting around.
Yeah. I just got some really cute black and white checkered socks that are very like teen punk Natalie. And
nice.
I'm going to ride in those because I haven't been wearing half chaps because I'm not doing, I'm trotting like 2 minutes and that's the extent of it. So I'm just riding in tall socks and leggings or breeches. And so I'm just going for weird. I definitely look like the rag bag when I go outside of the house and I'm not like leaving the farm. I'm just doing whatever I find. It doesn't go together. It's just insane.
It carries through though, because yesterday I got home and I was wearing a baggy pink t-shirt with like a cowgirl on the front of it and no bra, and these baggy pajama pants and just freshly washed hair air drying. And I ran errands and I saw other parents and my level of I don't give a fuck was so low that day.
That's incredible.
And I was like, you know what? This is me and I'm going to look homeless and it's going to be fine.
I put on a bra to run errands. That's sometimes the extent of it. That's the biggest change.
Yep. I can't stand bras at the end of the day. So I will look for a shirt that you can't see nips in just to be able to leave without a bra. Because
that's my problem is you can always see. Yeah.
They're always saying hi.
Yeah, they are very, very. Prominent nipples. What can I say? Do
That's
not
right.
edit that out. That goes
definitely
live.
not. Definitely not. That's staying. That might even become like a soundbite, Natalie.
That's gonna be my QS tombstone.
Well, my husband, we're digressing far, so we're gonna have to stop this in a second. But I've been wanting breast reduction surgery, and it's mostly because of the time I was trotting a horse in the Gobi Desert and wasn't wearing the right bra, and literally was in so much pain.
Yeah.
Because I had to hold the horse, a feral horse, with one hand while holding my boobs down with the other, and I was sore for days after.
Oh my
So
God.
I want a breast reduction surgery. And you know what my husband says to that? As long as your nipples point north again.
Oh. Oh.
Gravity is not my friend.
I have to be honest with you. I don't think a ton about boobs, but I was, you know that
That's disappointing.
I know I should think more about boobs, but I don't. I was watching what's the movie? I think it's This Is 40. And
oh yeah.
And there's the scene where there's an actress who's like super young and hot and ridiculous, and she takes off her shirt, and Leslie Mann is like, "Can I touch your breasts?" Because they're so young. And I was looking at them going, "Oh my God, that's what pre-baby boobs look like. I forgot about that." And I was just as jealous as the character in the movie. I totally got it, especially because I'm 41. Man, young boobs are amazing. And I did feel a little self-conscious about mine after that for a few days. But it's over. You know, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, our husbands still want to touch them, so like they're not that bad.
Exactly.
Right? But
yeah.
I just thought to myself, my God, if I could just maybe make them a little perkier again. I don't know. We'll see. But
I mean, why, you know, if you get a huge advantage out of it, which is that you can ride feral horses in the Gobi Desert, which feels like that's a you thing. But, you know, if that's a priority for you, then.
Well, I feel like it's more likely that I don't end up in the fetal position on a horseback, even in my own horses, because I'm so weighted forward.
Yeah. That's like legitimate concern. I think about that a lot when I'm watching like an upper level event and watching them go cross country. And there's a certain kind of like stick figure man that is so balanced when they're galloping cross country that I just sit forward and go, how? And I'm sure a certain extent of it is, they're not wearing a weight belt around their chest.
Right.
You know, like
it's a lower center of gravity for them.
Yeah, their upper body balance is definitely, it's closer to their waist. Mm-hmm. And that must make it so much easier to be in a gallop seat for a long time and just not move.
Just another reason to hate men.
It is. It absolutely is. I just get mad. Like, look at you. You think you're so great with no boobs.
And also, like, all the saddles are made for them. So, you know, women get in there and they're super uncomfortable. And then we end up with hip and back pain.
Oh, is that what's wrong with my hips? Is it my like 1950 Steuben that I ride in?
Yes.
Oh.
I could pretty much say yes, just based on your description of that.
Maybe I'll go fund me a real saddle because.
Well, you know, that's actually a whole other conversation because we can have my dear friend Sabina on, who has Saddle Fit for Life and slays the saddles. So we could talk about all saddle stuff if you want.
We could talk about it, but I can't buy it.
Okay.
I can't buy my way out of this pain.
It's a wish list. I mean, at this point, Natalie, I have so many saddles that I just collect, and I could probably just mail you one.
Okay, deal.
Well, see, you have to be a good girl, okay? You have to earn it. This is your positive reinforcement for being, you know.
Did I or did I not just arrange our fantastic equine affair weekend?
You really did. Oh my God. So just an aside for everyone listening, if you want to know what chaos is going to be and a lot of laughter, be prepared for Natalie and I to be introverts while living in an Airbnb over equine affair, having talked to people all day and yet still having fun and drinking, but then also being introverts.
And locking ourselves in our bedrooms. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, mutual agreement of I can't people anymore, Natalie. You can go to bed, okay? And so will I in our separate bedrooms.
Yeah, which I love because we already do that at events anyway, right? Where it's like we just are like at the end of the day, we talk and talk and talk for 12 hours. And then at the end of the day, it's like, what are you doing for dinner? I'm locking myself in my hotel room, eating Thai and going to bed. Hey, cool, me too. Bye. Like we don't even
See you
consider
tomorrow.
having dinner together. It's not even an option.
Hell to the no. Try to rip me out of the shower or the bathtub. Yeah, after that I'll be asleep in it. Yeah, no, that takes a lot out of me. But I think we should definitely record a whole bunch of fun stuff while we're behind the scenes.
I agree. Yeah. We might have to go full subscription service for whatever we get up to up there. Like, sorry, this has to be private feed.
Yeah, exactly. We can't have this getting out. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
That's all day win of the week.
So Natalie, adulting win of the week. Are you upset about it this week? Because last week you couldn't think of anything.
Yeah. No, I've had a really good week.
Awesome.
I know. I didn't think I was having a good week, but it turns out I actually was. Does that make sense? You know?
Yes, because I feel like I had the opposite problem, so you took my good karma.
Oh, well, I mean, last week was just, I was slipping. And you know what? I think it was, in part, was my husband and my son just kept having to go places and leave me for a couple days at a time. And I was overwhelmed with finishing my book and the new cat and the horses and I was just really overwhelmed with being by myself. I enjoy being by myself. Like, I would love it if sometimes I just had the house to myself for the day, but then they came back for dinner.
Yeah.
But 3 or 4 days at a time is a lot. But this week it started rough because I threw my back out, which is something I do like twice a year. And I rode, but riding was not the right idea. That was a bad idea.
Oh no.
So yesterday, in a stunning feat of self-preservation, I did nothing.
Yay! That is awesome.
I mean, I did some stuff on my laptop, but largely I did nothing, and I took a long nap. And
stop flirting with me.
My back feels so much better today.
So you needed just a little, like a day off, a self-care day.
Listen, Heather, I literally thought, this is how deluded I am and how, many long-term bad work ethic practices I have ingrained into my brain. I thought I could work my way out of a bad back. I genuinely was like, if I do more, I will stretch out my back and I will feel better. That did not happen. Okay.
Oh no, that's shocking.
I couldn't move. Yesterday morning, I couldn't get out of bed. I texted my husband and said, hey, can you bring me an ice pack so that I could ice my back so that I could get out of the bed? That is how badly I hurt myself.
But wouldn't ice actually make you tighter if it was muscular?
It numbed it. Okay. So that I could roll over and move on. And frankly, I don't know. It might have been that maybe a heating pad would have been a better idea. And I did use a heating pad a lot yesterday. Except every time I get up, the cats, yes, plural, the cats now take the heating pad for themselves. So that's a whole thing. But yeah, it was super good. It was super good. All I did yesterday was work a little bit on the novella that I accidentally wrote in past tense when it was supposed to be in present tense. So I have to fix that entire thing. 35,000 words. I'm an idiot.
Oh no.
And I finished the hardcover design for my new book and got that rolling. So yeah.
What I'm hearing is you had a self-care day, but it was mostly because you couldn't physically move anyway.
Yes, that is 100% correct.
Oh my God. I would say what's wrong with you, but I already know because it's every other adult woman
I know
who's working.
I know. I'm trying
and has horses.
To, I have a lot of deadlines that I set for myself this year. And every year I say, if I can get through this, I won't do it next year. I really mean it. I mean it this time. If I can get through these deadlines this year, I won't do it to myself next year.
Okay. So do you need me to scream it to you? Remind you?
Yeah, Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you see me put up a bunch of pre-orders for next year, go, no, turn those off. Turn those off now. But I do
Yeah.
things out of panic too. Like I'm a reactionary person. So um
You'll get it done if you set yourself a time frame.
there's that. Yeah. And I'll set, if I'm concerned, like I knew last year, I knew this year was going to be difficult in terms of moving and buying property and all that kind of thing. So I said, if I do all of this work, it won't be a problem. So I set up all of these books to go out this year to make sure that I was able to cover my expenses, my living expenses, and my farm expenses, because the past few years, I keep getting laid off. It's crazy. It's like corporations hurt me. So, I just wanted to stay in front of all that. And it's worked out, but I also desperately need a break.
Well, you're going on a cruise.
I am, but I feel like I need more than a week. I feel like as a human, I deserve more than a week off in a year. Does that seem fair?
Fully agree. And that's why I'm struggling so much right now, because this summer I decided I was only going to work one Saturday a month and take the other Saturdays to either, do fun things, ride the horses or go to the beach, which, by the way, I've been to the beach once this summer. It's August. And and so my scheduling suffers for that, but I'm trying, right? So I'm trying to take the time, and it's hard because something has to give, though, if we go away and do vacationy things.
Right.
And when we come back, we have to pay.
Exactly. And you have to earn more, like I have to pay a farm sitter. So, so that's a little bit extra if I want to leave the farm. But I think awareness obviously is the first step. You can't always act on something the second you know about it.
Well, it's recognizing a pattern. Like, you have a pattern now.
Yeah.
And you just need to be aware of it and try to reset and create a new pattern. Even if it's slightly off, like maybe one less book next year.
Right, exactly. And it
Don't go crazy.
I was reading this series of books that they're fiction, but they're about addiction. Mm-hmm. And it's about narcotics and alcoholism addiction. And they're very funny. They're called Rachel's Holiday, the holiday being a rehab center. And then again, Rachel, which is like the sequel. And they're by Marian Keyes, who's just stunningly brilliant Irish writer. So I highly recommend these books. But I've learned a lot about addiction and personality while I was reading these books and looking back at some things that I have done in my own life, not like related to substances, but just actions and personality quirks. I'm going, oh, that's why addiction is a thing. Like now I see why I did this thing or why I got obsessed with this thing or whatever. It made so much sense.
So you're addicted to writing and publishing books?
I am, but I think the root cause of it might be like a fear of obscurity.
Oh, yeah.
A fear of not obscurity, and not redundancy, but a whole other word that is escaping
You're asking me to think with my thinking brain.
I'm sorry. The cookie I had for breakfast is not doing it right now. Shoot. But it's it's on the tip of my tongue. I almost said it. Oh my God.
Oh, you're too funny.
I almost had it, and then my brain said relevancy, and I'm like, no, it's so close to relevancy. It's the thing before relevancy. It's not. It might be irrelevancy. Just to be relevant and then to suddenly be eclipsed.
Well, it's all about momentum, right?
Right.
So you feel like if there's a long break in between, maybe you'll lose the momentum you've gained.
Maybe I'm obsessed with momentum itself. With moving. And I think
and sometimes when we focus on the moving, right, we're not focusing on other things. So it might be like a way that you're kind of healing something in yourself, right? Like you're constantly not thinking about, I do this.
Can BetterHelp sponsor us? I think that we're there.
I think we are definitely candidates for better health, and I'm a big fan of talk therapy. And I mean, we both know that I could use some mental help. But I know all about addiction because I'm addicted to Coca-Cola products.
Right.
And I am addicted to horses. And I'm addicted to trying to be better than I was the day before. And it's like craving this endorphin release. Like I'm constantly on the self-healing journey or trying
Right.
to be better parent. I'm trying to be a better business person. I'm trying to be better for my horses. But I'm never better for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my biggest failing is like I put everything else first and I take all the onus off of me
Right.
and I
Because
put it outward.
if I wanted to be better for myself and, if we wanted to be better for ourselves, we would do less of all of that and we would sit down on the couch with a cup of tea and, read a book or watch a television show that doesn't, that isn't like a cultural thing that we have to keep up with or something. You know what I mean? We would just like watch 10 episodes of Golden Girls and fall asleep.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, Natalie. I think I'm a little further ahead of my healing journey because I definitely do that. I don't do it often, but
Oh,
I do make time for that kind of stuff for myself because I feel like that's the only way I can still function. Or I get burned out real bad.
yeah. I really don't. I grab 10 minutes here and 15 minutes there.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I worked so hard for so many years that just trying to establish my business and the Timid Rider and everything like that, that I didn't stop. And then I ended up kind of burned out for 6 months. Like I didn't write anything for 6 months. I just kind of faded.
Mm.
And so I had to learn to better balance that. I feel like balance is constantly something I'm looking for. So I'm still not there yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah. I feel like I hear your warning a lot. And I've been really concerned about that as I go through this really active year where I'm like, if I try to do this another year, what might happen to my career?
Well,
And I don't
it's
think
your
about my
back, it's
brain.
your
I'm not thinking
body.
about me. I'm thinking about my career.
Right, but think about it, like, if you get seriously injured, right, like, because you're so tied up in your back and you end up throwing a disc and then you need to rehab and you can't ride, like, that takes you backwards.
Right.
So a little ounce of prevention, I say this for my massage clients, like, prevention means you actually have a longer term prospect of no injury, happiness, quality of life, all of it. So you should think about what's good for our horses is good for us too.
Yep. It's that old pattern of doing more for your horse than for yourself.
Yes. And that is like a whole other episode, which
It really is.
we should definitely talk about.
We need to make a whole list of the things that we do that we should be doing for ourselves
Right.
also.
Absolutely. And so like I guess when it comes down to now I feel better actually because I feel better than you because no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're ahead of me. You should feel very proud.
I feel like we're
You
on
sh
a similar journey and I will be your guide
Oh, okay.
to how to not do things. I'm really good at being lazy. Like I tell people I'm 0 to 60, right?
Mhm.
So I'm either giving it 150% and hustling and doing what I need to do, or I'm at 0 where I can barely function. I'm braless in a grocery store,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
last
see
night
that.
that's where I was at. And so that is not my win, in case you were wondering.
It's not?
No.
Oh, I
In
really
many
thought maybe
ways,
it
I could
was.
see that.
Okay. Let's focus
Um,
on you. What's yours?
my my win was when I got back from Vermont last weekend. I came back early and I got to spend Saturday and Sunday at the barn with the horses. I got to ride both the horses. I got to play. I got to groom. I got to
Oh,
spend some quality time. And honestly, I needed it so much.
just like agenda-free horse time.
Yes, I never go
Oh.
with an agenda
Mhm.
because if I inevitably go saying, I'm going to work on this dressage test today, or I'm going to lunge this horse and I'll ride this horse, it inevitably never works for me.
Mhm.
So I get upset if my plans change. So I've learned to just actually freewheel and see, this is all right. We'll end on this note. This is what I do. I go to the paddock, and whichever horse wants to come to me is the horse that I take that day.
Okay.
I let them choose.
Just let it be meant to be.
Yeah, I let them choose, and it's actually been really rather freeing. I mean, it's a little hippy dippy. With 2 horses too to spend time with, it can be really overwhelming, and they both need a lot of attention. So if I have time, I'll just usually the other one gets curious and comes to me right at the end, but I'll let kind of the mood play. And if Ferrous is going to run from me and not want to spend time with me, it's definitely not a good day to ride. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's true. Like, he's already sort of made a statement, huh? About what your ride's going to be like.
Yeah, he's stoic, but you know, he knows how to talk to me, and I've learned to listen. So my win of the week was that I got to spend some quality time with both of the boys, and that was a lot of fun. It did end on the terrible photo shoot situation.
So Heather, for Pop Corner today, I have some books I want to tell you about. New books. And they're really cool. They're really, really different, but they are, I think, going to have mass appeal for most of our listeners because they're definitely horse books written by horse people. And so they all have really relatable, horse characters and plots and people. So I'm super excited for these. The first one I want to tell you about is really close. I have the Eventing series. But before the Eventing series, I didn't know this when I started writing them and called them that. Before the Eventing series, there's actually a British series called the Eventing Trilogy. And they're from like the early 80s, I want to say, by an author named Carolyn Ackrell. And these books are funny. These books are like British farce.
Like Ab Fab funny?
Yes, exactly. Like Ab Fab funny.
I love that.
There's just that British humor. It's the concept is that a young woman, I think she gets her BHS certification or British Horse Society certification, and she's ready to go off and work as an event trainer. And she gets a job in this crazy, dilapidated sort of big house with these women. I can't remember if they're sisters. They're all insane. These very eccentric, down on their luck, shabby, aristocratic women who have horses.
Sounds like life goals to me.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's the classic like cobwebby mansion where everything's falling apart, and the women are just these bizarre going to see aristocratic women. And they have horses that they are leasing to the local hunt. And the horses all have these like bizarre titles, like the black mare who runs away, stuff like that. And so this girl gets a job with them to exercise these horses. And it's just a farce. It's just fall down in the mud sort of humor, but it's so funny, and there's a little bit of romance, not much. And so there's this series, right? I should have prepped better by like pulling up the titles because I can't think of them, but there's like A Hoof in the Door is one, Ticket to Ride is another, and they're just superbly hilarious. So Carolyn Ackrell actually wrote a fourth one, like an update, and I haven't read it yet, but I am super excited to. And so I think I'm going to grab one for my cruise that I'm going on and just lie around this cruise deck reading horse books with
She wrote the fourth one 50 years after the first 3?
Yeah. Yes, seriously. So the first book came out, I think, in 1984. And she just wrote a sequel. She's been writing in the meantime. So she has a book called The Last Baronet. She has a book called Flying Changes. And these are all super easy to read. If you like, they're on Kindle Unlimited. I think
I've heard of Flying Changes.
Yeah. But her new one, I believe it's called Horses for Courses, which is a good name. I don't think it's Courses for Horses. I think it's Horses for Courses, but it could go either way now that I think about it.
I do like rhyming. It helps me remember.
It's Courses for Horses is the new one, which is a super, that's a great play on an old saying, right? So I'm very, very excited to read this book. And they've been all published by Jane Badger, who puts together, republishes old pony books, like British pony books. And
Mhm.
she just makes the prettiest, most simple books that I can't help but buy them in paperback because they're gorgeous.
Oh, so the cover
So
gets you?
yeah, the cover really grabs you. They're very minimalist and just elegant. And the Courses for Horses is no exception. Just a beautiful chestnut looking over, sort of back towards the photographer. And it is the fourth book in the Eventers. It just says Eventers 4, probably because I stole Eventing series by accident. So my apologies to Carolyn Ackrell. But I didn't know it existed, and then it was a trilogy that has been updated 40 years later to be a 4-book
We'll have to
series.
drop a link in the show notes for people who might be interested.
Yeah, for sure, because it looks great. I'm excited. I want to buy all of the
check them out.
It's not linked properly on Amazon to the trilogy, but it does exist. Courses for Horses. So yeah, the first book is called Adventure's Dream. Is that the first book? Yeah. So, and that's why I never read it. So this is funny. So the first book is called Adventure's Dream, and for years, the Kindle cover was a bit. It still is a bit. It's not the greatest. It kind of looks like a young adult, like, oh, it's my dream pony kind of book, and I don't read those.
Right.
So I skipped it for years, but when I finally read it, I was like, oh my God, this cover does not, and the title does not adequately describe what is inside the covers of this book. Like, it is so funny, and it's for adults. And just even the name Eventer's Dream is tongue in cheek, where this horse is like, oh, he's an Eventer's Dream. Like, is he an Eventer's Dream, or is he going to kill you? So yeah, I'm just super excited that I love the British sensibility in writing. I love British comedy. And when you put that all together with like a really knowledgeable eventing background, that's just sort of like the dream, in my opinion.
That's like your ice cream sundae with a cherry on top.
It literally, yeah, it is. This is my big old banana split with extra whipped cream. I love it. And then the other one I wanted to tell you about isn't out yet, but I just read this interview that my good friend Jessica Burkhart did with a website, and I'll share the link with you, so maybe we can add that too. So Jessica Burkhart is a horsey author. She wrote the Canterwood Crest middle grade series.
Yes, super famous.
Super famous, right? I remember reading those. Like, I went into a Books A Million when I lived in Lakeland, Florida, and I didn't really have any money, so I sat and read the first couple Canterwood books just on the floor when my son was in the kids section. I'm like, well, I'll just read these. I'm like, these are pretty fun. There's more lip gloss in them than I ever experienced as a horsey kid, but there are all kinds of horsey kids. You know, there are some who wear makeup, and then there's others like me who have never worn makeup in their life and wouldn't know what to do with it. So
yeah, I do wear lipstick to the barn for the most part.
Do you really? You're so fabulous.
I'm very fab. I'm ab fab.
Oh my God. Are we Patsy and Adina? Oh dear God. We a little bit are.
I'm definitely Adina.
Sweetie darling.
I can see you in a beehive.
Sweetie darling. Oh, wait. So I'm the one with the beehive, and you're the one wearing the like glittery rhinestone shirts.
With the moo-moo.
Oh, I'm dying. All right.
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, yeah, I have a lot to say about that. But the book,
you do.
So she's got a new series coming out, is what I'm trying to spit out. She's writing a young adult series called Saddle Hill, which is like a spinoff of Canterwood Crest, and it comes out next year. But she did this interview with this blog called Rachel Reads, and she talks about how she's using for her main characters, she's actually doing like queer representation. She's writing about two sisters, and one of them, actually both of them, identify as queer. So it's giving a lot more sort of attention to really what the modern stable looks like, I think, like how more people are comfortable with who they are and how they identify and live their lives. And we're all just more honest about ourselves, I think. And so I'm just really excited to read a book with more diverse characters, because that can be kind of hard. I would love to write more diverse characters, and people request them of me, which I try really hard. I'm trying so hard, but it's not my voice.
Right.
So I struggle with it a little bit because I want to be sure that I'm giving people
the right representation.
the right representation. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to make it into some kind of, stereotype or parody by accident.
Mm-hmm. So whenever, when somebody in our community of equestrian writers is writing in their own voice, which is what Jess is doing in this case, because she was able to come out recently. And she talks about that in the blog. I'm not like
You're not
everything.
Publicly outing her?
I'm not outing her. She's talking about this in the blog post, and she talks about it on her social media. She has a great Twitter feed. So I feel like Saddle Hill is going to be this really nice addition to equestrian fiction. And I'm so happy for her that she's getting this new series, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. And I think that, it doesn't come out till next summer, but it's never too soon to get excited about new books.
No, never. You can add it to your wish list. That's kind of the whole idea, right? Get excited, and you can follow the author. We love it when people follow us on social media and start interacting, and we get to know our readers.
Oh, yeah.
I know you think so, and I definitely think so. And
it's life-changing.
Book signings are awesome too, because you can meet some of these people in person. It's so cool.
It's life-changing when you get to know the people reading your books. It absolutely is. Because how else would you know if you're doing anything? You could sell 100 books a day, but until people write back to you or send you a message or start following your stuff, you just don't know who you're reaching.
That's true. And I find, especially I write such very personal things with the nonfiction, that it can be really overwhelming. And I wonder if it's even worth it some days, or, exposing myself like that, emotionally. And then that one day someone might reach out and send me a message and just say, hey, I picked up your book. I suddenly found it and this really resonated. And that keeps me going.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's so for all of you guys out there, if you're fans of authors like Natalie and I, or, any author, reach out to them, because we love it.
We love it. We love it. Imagine being a narcissist, but you never actually get to get on stage and have people cheer for you. That's what my life is like. I get on stage every single day. I write my books, and there's no one in the crowd. There's no one in the crowd.
That's right. You need the feedback. It's like being a comedian. You get up, you want to know that you're being heard, that it's registering, that it's evoking a response.
Mm-hmm.
And
and what you want to see more of, or what you're not seeing enough of, that's fair too.
That is absolutely fair.
Otherwise, I'm writing into a vacuum, right?
Thank you for being a little weird with us, horse girls. If you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your player of choice. Follow us on Instagram at Adulting with Horses Podcast, or even better, join our Adulting with Horses Clubhouse on Facebook, where you can become part of the show. Also, it's a great place to meet other horse crazy women. Thanks, and see you next time.